no matter the location. From OAKLA to LV, I'm a Raider.
Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, and what are we doing on today's episode? We're going to be breaking down the top 13, yes, lucky number 13, of the top prospects that I think Jon Gruden Mike Mayock are most likely to go out and get in this upcoming draft. The way that I base these player rankings is literally based on how well I think they fit with our scheme. Ultimately, the draft needs here, and also I didn't put any players like Trevor Lawrence on this list because he ain't going to fall to 17. So right now, let's look at the Raiders' biggest draft needs as it stands right now. Right tackle is right now the number one need for this team. Free safety, cornerback, edge rusher, defensive tackle. You could kind of split hairs here and there with some of those positions, but that is how I look at right now the Raiders' biggest draft needs. At number 13 of my round one targets here for Las Vegas, I got AZEEZ OJULARI, edge rusher out of Georgia. I think he's going to fit great and is a 4-3 off-the-ball linebacker. Very good pass rusher because he's got that quickness, got that effort, and great body control, something that body control is always underlooked. One of the biggest reasons why Maxx Crosby is a good edge rusher, immense body control. And if he can improve his technique, watch out for this guy. I've seen some Von Miller comps. It's a little bit too high for me, but if he can improve that technique, this guy can be a very, very good edge rusher at the next level. 6'3", 240-pounder from Georgia. Let's stick here in the SEC. I'm going to go to number 12 on my list, Jaycee Horn, cornerback out of South Carolina. Definitely built to be more of an outside corner. He's got good size, could definitely fit in press coverage. If the Raiders were to take him at 17, he would definitely start over Damon Arnett. When I actually look at a lot of the tools that Jaycee Horn has, I think they almost thought that, okay, if we take Damon Arnett, we're going to get the player Jaycee Horn is. That's just not totally true. And at 6'1", 205 pounds, the only thing that I wish the son of Joe Horn would do is be a little bit more of just to tackle. Like, I want Horn to want to tackle. He doesn't look like he wants any part of tackling anybody. So, in 2020, 16 tackles, 2 interceptions, 6 pass breakups. He's number 12 on my list. Now, if you guys want another mock draft, I literally just put one out last week, but I've had a lot more people asking, Mitch, when are you going to do the next one? I'll make you a deal. When we hit 77,000 subscribers here at the Las Vegas Raiders Report, I'll make another mock draft. So, if you haven't already, hit that big red button and subscribe. Number 11 on my list, I got ZAVEN Collins, linebacker from Tulsa. I still think that he is the most versatile linebacker in this draft. He can get after the quarterback. He can cover. He can tackle. He actually reminds me a lot of a player like Kyle Van Noy and his ability to do a lot of different things for this football team. He has also won the award for Best Defensive Player in college football last year. That's an amazing award, and especially considering the fact that he did it at Tulsa. 6'4", 260-pounder, 52 tackles last year, 7.5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 4 interceptions, 2 pass breakups. The biggest thing the Raiders tried to do last offseason was get versatile. If they're still trying to do that this season, ZAVEN Collins is definitely a player to keep in mind. Number 10 on my list, I got Jaelan Phillips. He's climbing up boards. I'm just going to tell you right now, I'd actually rather have Jaelan Phillips over Gregory Rousseau. He had an absolutely phenomenal pro day. He ran a 4.56 40-yard dash, a 7.01 second 3 cone drill, a freak athlete, and he just continues to get better and better. 6.5 sacks over his final 3 games at Miami. The only thing that scares me, he retired from football in 2019 with concussion issues. He was a 5-star prospect, ended up going to UCLA, and then took a year off because he didn't know if he wanted to play anymore. And if everything checks out with Jaelan Phillips, I've had people say that he could go in the top 10. That's how talented he is. Obviously, the Raiders went out and also got Yannick Ngakoue. But if Jaelan Phillips is there at 17, and if the draft boards continue to raise him up and up and up, don't be surprised if the Raiders do pull the trigger here. So what do you guys think here? Who would you want the Raiders to draft at pick number 17? You know what? I'm going to make this the pinned comment on today's episode. So when you come across this bad boy on YouTube, you're going to get hit with the YouTube ad break. While that ad is playing, I want you to scroll on down and comment because it's going to be the very, very top comment. Who do you want the Raiders to draft at pick number 17? Number 9 on my Raiders round 1 targets. Said that weird. Samuel COSMI at number 9, offensive tackle from Texas. He played 14 games at right tackle and 21 games at left tackle in his career at UT. I think he could be the starting right tackle right now for this Las Vegas Raiders football team. But the other reason why I know the Raiders are at least going to have him on their radar, his versatility. It's going to be very, very appealing. One of the reasons why Denzel Good is such a big favorite in terms of the locker room and a big favorite for Carr and Gruden, versatility. Now, I don't know if COSMI is really a player that I would want to draft at 17, but let's just say there's a big-time run on offensive tackles. COSMI, I do think, is going to be there. But if that's the case, maybe the Raiders could potentially trade back. But at 6'7", 309 pounds from Humble, Texas, he is a player that I actually think could be on the Raiders' big board at number 17. So what we're doing here on today's episode, we're breaking down the top Raiders draft prospects from 13 all the way down to 1. I wouldn't be able to make this show if it wasn't for our awesome sponsor, BetUS. So go to chatsports.com/Raiders. Promo code Raiders125. It's going to be able to save you 125% deposit bonus. What does that mean? If you deposit $100, you get $125 free to bet with. Now, Mitch, what are some things I can bet on? You can bet on the Final Four. Like, who do you think is going to win the Natty? Throw it down there in the comments section. I'm curious. Or if you want to bet on the Raiders to win the Super Bowl, think about this. If you bet $10 right now at BetUS for the Raiders to win the Super Bowl and they win it, you win $750. So risk 10 to win $750. That sounds pretty good. One more time, it's chatsports.com/Raiders. Promo code Raiders125. Next player up here on my Raiders round 1 targets, I got Mayock, safety out of TCU. In my opinion, he is the best free safety in the 2021 NFL draft class. I know some people are starting to point their finger at Richie Grant. I'm just going to respectfully disagree. Now, I will say this. I'd actually might rather have Richie Grant in round 2 than Mayock at 17. But I think he's a better fit for what Gus Bradley's trying to do. He won College Football Award for the best defensive back last season. And in 2020, 47 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 9 pass breakups, and 2 interceptions. It's also the sample size. He's been good not just 1 year, not just 2 years. Mayock is a very, very talented safety, and if they don't go out and sign somebody in free agency, he's the number 1 guy, so don't be surprised if they pull the trigger. But do you agree with me, or do you agree with some other people out there that have Richie Grant higher? Who's the best safety in the draft? If you think it's Mayock, I want you to type TM. Holland, JH, Richie Grant, RG. If you don't think it's any of those guys, I want you to comment their names below. Number 7 on my list here, I got Caleb Farley, and I can't even believe I'm putting him on my list. Why? Because if you were to ask me 2 months ago, where's Caleb Farley go? I probably would have said in the top 10. Now, after he opted out, he had some issues with his back. He misses pro day, which is the reason why his stock is continuing to fall lower and lower and lower. Now, do I think that he should go outside the top 17? No, I don't think that. However, Caleb Farley's draft stock is falling, and if he's on the board, he is my number 1 cornerback. I think out of all the corners in this year's draft class, he is going to be the best one from the entire group. And if I'm wrong, so be it. But he's got the athletic traits that you just simply cannot teach. Now, I appreciate everyone that always comes across the Raiders Report videos. If you want to hit me up on Instagram, I'm at MitchellRenz365. If there's a player you're like, dude, you left this guy off your list, tell me. I'll watch the tape, I'll analyze it, and then I'll let you know what I have to say. But if you don't agree with my list, seriously, I make these videos for y'all. Let me know what you're thinking. Let's go to the defensive tackle position. Y'all know that I love me some Christian Barmore. Definitely got some round 1 upside, but I'm telling you what, this is due to this guy's upside and overall potential. Finally broke out over the last few games, and I will say this, and I will continue to pound my fist on the table. He is the best defensive tackle in this year's draft class. 6'5", 310-pounders. He's not your typical DT that comes out of Alabama that's just built like an absolute brick house. He's also got a lot more speed, and he's got the ability to also play in the 3-4 front. I don't think that's what the Raiders are going to do in Bradley's system, but if you want extra defensive tackle help, and I know that's something that Gus Bradley definitely wants, if all these other players are off the board, don't be shocked if the Raiders pull the trigger and go out and get Barmore, defensive tackle from Alabama. At number 5, Teven Jenkins, and if I was a betting man, which I am, I actually think that Jenkins could be one of the most likely players that the Raiders get at 17. He had a virtual meeting with Jon Gruden and the rest of the staff. I know that they really like him. He's a dominant run blocker, solid pass blocking option as well. And when I say he reminds me of Kolton Miller, I mean this. Kolton Miller was a type of player that I really don't think a lot of people thought was going to be very good, and then really was able to show up and succeeded. So for me, I understand that a lot of people are trying to think of like, okay, why would you do Teven Jenkins? The career sample size is there. 6'6", 320-pound guy, and he's somebody that I know the Raiders really like. He's got high upside, just like Colt Miller. It might take a few games for him to get his feet underneath himself, but once he figures it out, if you have Colt Miller on the left, TEVEN Jenkins on the right, I'm telling y'all right now, it's going to be a very, very good start. But still, at pick 17, it might be a little bit of a reach. If you could trade back and get TEVEN Jenkins, man, I'd absolutely love that. So a lot of times y'all just see me here on the Raiders Report. My other job, or I shouldn't say my main job is doing videos for Chat Sports. No Chat Sports, no Raiders Report. But if you guys want to check out my first mock draft that I did this year, here's what it looks like, the thumbnail to the video. If you haven't already subscribed to Chat Sports, please do. YouTube.com/ChatSportsTV. We go live there Monday and Wednesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. Dropping new free videos all the time. And if you want to check out my brand new mock draft on Chat Sports YouTube channel, please go ahead and check it out. The top 4 players that I think the Raiders need to go out and draft at pick number 17 in the 2021 NFL Draft are coming up right now. At number 4, Christian Darrisaw, offensive tackle from Virginia Tech. He had a massive breakout season in 2020. Sure, he played left tackle, but you know what? I look at him and I believe that he's got a lot of the traits and a lot of the physical gifts where he could also slide over and be a right tackle. Allowed just 6 pressures this past season. He's got 34 starts underneath his belt, but a lot of people are going to point the finger and say, Mitch, he's a left tackle. I'm going to say, you know what? You're right. He did play left tackle. But at 6'5", 311 pounds, if you're telling me right now that I'm willing to take a little bit of a gamble on a player that I like a lot and put him at right tackle, Christian Darrisaw is definitely a player that I'm open to that with. At number 3 in my Raiders round 1 draft targets here at the Raiders Report, I got Micah Parsons. I actually think that you could make an argument that Parsons is the most talented defensive player out there. And when I really think about the overall ability, if you make him a Mike linebacker, it might not be the best way to do it. However, if you do use him to be a little bit more of an edge rusher, that's something I'm interested in. Now, there's a report out there that 15 teams won't put Parsons on their big board simply to off-the-field concerns. Sure, I hear the off-the-field concerns, and, well, until it's proven, it's hard to say. But the skill set, it reminds me a lot of a guy like Khalil Mack. I'm not saying that he's going to be Khalil Mack, but if you use him as more of an edge rusher instead of just a typical Mike, you're going to be pretty happy. So who do y'all think is the best linebacker in the draft? I want you to type MP if you think it's Micah Parsons. I want you to type Joke if you think it's Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. ZC if you think it's Zaven Collins, or if you think it's somebody else, comment the name below. All right, let's now go to number 2 on my list here, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. He's a do-it-all outside linebacker who can blitz and he can cover. An incredible athlete from top to bottom. You want to be able to find somebody that can go sideline to sideline, and when I watch all these linebackers in this year's draft class, I think Joke might actually be the best sideline-to-sideline linebacker, which is something that is very, very important in a Gus Bradley scheme. I understand the Raiders brought back Nicholas Morrow. That does not mean, though, they can't still go out and add a little bit more depth here. When I think about versatility, when I think about a player Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah reminds me of, he reminds me, honestly, a lot of like other safeties, like a Jamal Adams or like a Derwin James, if you will. Sure, those guys aren't linebackers, but Owusu-Koramoah is so talented, and you can use him in so many different ways. That's how I think the Raiders are best off here. That's why he's number 2 on my board. At number 1, the number 1 guy that I think the Raiders would go out and get if he's there at 17, Rashawn Slater. I'll be honest with y'all. I don't know, and I don't really think that Slater's going to fall to 17. However, Mike Mayock went above and beyond to make sure that he was at Northwestern's Pro Day. And everybody that I talk to says this. He is absolutely in love with Slater. Now, I've seen some mocks where he's gone in the top 5. I think that he's probably going to go in the top 15. But if by some way, somehow, he can end up falling to 17, or if there's a player that I actually think the Raiders could trade up for, I'm going to say it's Rashawn Slater. 6'3", 305-pounder out of Northwestern. He can play tackle. He might be a little bit more to just be your typical guard in there, but everything that I hear, everybody that I talk to, Mike Mayock absolutely loves Rashawn Slater, and it's why he is my number 1 player on my players the Raiders could go out and get at pick number 17. All right, so let's go through this list one more time here, and if you guys have made it this far in the video, that means producer Jeremy and I, we got to be doing something right. So seriously, like the video. It helps us out a ton. If you haven't already subscribed to the Raiders Report, make sure you do. The link is also down there below if you want to send it to some friends. YouTube.com/Raiders Report. Reminder, if you don't like my top 13 list or if you want to make some changes, you can always yell at me in the comments. I promise, I promise, I promise. I go down in the comments. I see what you guys have to say. So seriously, if you made it this far in the video, let me know your thoughts.